Welcome, horror fam, to HHN 365 Halloween Horror Nights podcast. My name is Mike, and as always, I'm here with my co hosts, Duff and Jonathan. No Jess tonight.
Nope, and she's not needed because it's a very, very slow night with nothing to discuss.
Absolutely nothing.
No.
Absolutely nothing.
You could say that it's a very quiet episode.
Do I really have to boo you again?
On today's show, as Jonathan alluded to, we will be talking about the most recent announcement, A Quiet Place, as well as a bunch of news and rumors. But before we get to that, as always, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN365 and on TikTok at HHN365pod. We have an amazing Discord group. The link is in the description. And we have a merch shop at HHN365.com. You can always leave us a voicemail at 407 906 4134 and we'll play it on the show. But we have a lot to get it to, so let's get right into it. Take us away, Jeff.
Jeff? Who's Jeff? We'll start with housekeeping before we get to the fun stuff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Like tropes? Like
oh,
the tribe has
you
spoken?
caught me. I'm watching
Survivor?
I'm watching Survivor at the same time. No, I'm just
Thank you if you came to our YouTube live that we had last week, the day after the A Quiet Place announcement, or it was the night of the A Quiet Place announcement. If you were listening to that, you may have heard that the original intention was to actually just post that as this podcast episode. That's not what we're doing, clearly. So here's a separate episode where we'll be talking about A Quiet Place again, but this time with a lot more because this was a busy fucking week. So if you watched the YouTube live, thank you. This still is going to have a ton of different info than that YouTube live, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, that didn't work out. We had lofty plans to edit that, and it just didn't. But
yeah, you try things, you don't try things.
But if you're not following us on YouTube, now is the time to do so.
Yeah, we're doing those YouTube lives.
Yeah.
Go back to all the social media. It's been busy this week for social media.
Definitely.
It's been insane. I've been very busy this week, but every time I'm like, all right, I can sort of calm down a little bit. There's more news or something going on. I was like, oh, never mind. I have to tweet it and post some more things. It's been wild.
Why don't you kick us off with some of that news in Hollywood?
Yeah, let's just get to the HHN Hollywood news segment here. Starting off with construction updates from our friend Kevin, and he gave us a lot of pictures of stuff that's going on at that park of construction updates we can see. The first thing being the Parisian Courtyard. The last time we talked about the Parisian Courtyard, the facade was just getting started, started to get set up, and it was just sort of like a wall, a wood wall, and it was like, cool, the facade's starting. And we hope, it shapes into something pretty soon. Well, I guess you could say it's pretty soon now because the facade actually does look like something, or, we have some guesses of what it could be. But it's not just a wood wall anymore. There's a big middle section with an arch. There's some other walls on the side. It's very, very nice, very pristine. And I'm sure it's going to be getting even more detailed a little bit later. On this facade itself are very fake looking brickwork on it that almost seems like it's intentional, like it's intentionally fake brickwork, because Hollywood has good brickwork. Like we've seen it right now on the rumored Texas Chainsaw Massacre facade. They have a bunch of brickwork on there that looks absolutely gorgeous. So it looks like on this one, if the bricks look like this and they don't look that good, it almost seems like that's on purpose because we know they can have good bricks. That's a weird little conversation I got into. But
could you tell me more about some good bricks, Jonathan?
Brick talk with Jonathan.
But to finish off this Parisian Courtyard section here, some of our Discord members, if you go on our Discord, the Horror Fan Discord, we talk about all of these updates and news and rumors and all that good stuff. And we basically put this picture on the Discord, or some other members did, and said, hey, what do we think this is? And our Discord members came up with 3 theories. The first one being a mausoleum. The second one being a movie theater, which I think that's the one that most of our members are sort of leading towards right now, that this could be a movie theater type of facade. And the third one, because Kevin told me I have to say this on the podcast, so I will, is a Burger King. So maybe Maybe it is a Burger King. Who knows?
Take some pictures for us, and you get to talk about Burger King on the show. What a deal!
What a deal. It's just, absolutely.
What house is this rumored to be?
So right now on the HNN spec map, this what had like a picture of like South and Central America, sort of like we had for
Hmm,
Monstros. It was like that same picture, but it had a flower on
Hmm.
it.
okay.
So it's right now it's assumed to be another Latin American original. It's not really known what exactly it is. I'd say the two originals in Hollywood right now are the most unknown because everyone has theories, but no one exactly knows what they are. Which is exciting though, because it seems like Orlando, we have a good idea of what everything is now, but Hollywood still has at least two pretty big. We have ideas, but they're still a little unknown right now.
Yeah. Some question marks over at Hollywood still.
Hmm. We can move over to Mummy Q though, because I like this one a lot. If you haven't been following it, this is the one that kind of has like a smashed in piece of its wall, and it looks like that's where you'll enter and or exit depending on how they route it this year. Um, but it's really starting to take shape. They're starting to get some of the additional coats of paint now on it. That kind of like arch over the top of that wall is now painted red. They've added some finishing details around that as well. Um, Still not sure exactly what this looks like outside of a wall that has been broken into by something.
Yeah, this looks a lot less Quonset hut y.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. However, it does look like it could be
Could,
a tunnel
could.
of some sort, like a subway, something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, yeah, definitely. I could definitely see that.
A sub.
So,
I
Like,
mean, a,
especially like a London tube type of
oh
in
yeah,
between.
yeah, yeah.
I could see
They,
that.
they like to
Yeah.
do the red over there.
Hmm. I don't know. I'm excited about it, especially with what the rumors. It's an original, so obviously I'm always gonna uh, be more curious of what's going on. And I just think it looks cool so far. So I can't wait to see what else gets added in the coming weeks and even months.
Hell yeah.
All right, what's next?
We can actually go right to the T pad here. There's not much to talk about with this one, besides the fact that have you guys seen the pictures on our Instagram and Twitter? It looks absolutely gorgeous, this house. Right now, this house is rumored to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And this facade is beautiful. And some new details from the last time we talked is that windows have been added to the facade now. There's other little pieces on there that have been added to make it look even more realistic and just sort of beautiful in a sort of HHN type way.
Hmm.
I think right now this is one of my favorite. Well, not my favorite yet because there's another facade we'll talk about in a minute that's blowing all the other ones out of the park. But this one is looking really really good and it's almost looking done. I could see this one if it stopped right now. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. This looks almost like a finished facade.
You know what my favorite part about it is? That's some really good brick.
God damn it.
Yeah,
But no, honestly, the detail on this is gorgeous. Like, um, if it's not done, they are not far off at all.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Mike, have you seen like pictures of this facade? Like
I'm
it's
looking at it right now, brother.
yeah, it's
I don't know how
gorgeous.
why I turned into Hulk Hogan there.
I love that brick, brother.
I'm looking at it right now, brother. But yeah, no, I'm looking at it. Yeah, it's great.
And then we can move on over to H lot tent number one. This is the one that people believe and is rumored to be Insidious. Um, and it's kind of in the same stage as it was before, just with a little added detail. This is the one with that kind of window work that gave away what the property is most likely. Yeah, I mean, it's. I think I prefer the rumored TCM facade personally, just because the level of detail is chef's kiss phenomenal. But this does look like a really good facade as well.
for s- for a house that I really like I've made it clear on the show that I don't really care about the Insidious property. at all. I just don't. It's not something that I'm super excited for, just because of my feelings on the movie itself. Um, Looking at this facade almost like made me forget about that, because I think it is like, and we're always going to get more detail, but I think it is so gorgeous. It's so beautiful. It's big, it's giant. The windows on it are amazing. The detail on it, I think it's going to even move farther along as we get into the coming weeks. It's going to get even more detailed. I am really, really impressed with this. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of happy they're going this route instead of, none of us know what Insidious movies this, might be. Like, it could be a compilation of all of them. It could just be one movie. It could be the Red Door. It could be the first one. I don't exactly know. But I'm happy they went this route instead of the house, because I'm gonna be honest, I think I might like this better than like the pictures of just the Insidious house from the first one. I really do like this.
Oh, I don't know. That Insidious house was fucking good though.
It was. It did look good from pictures. But this is, I don't know. I need to see it like completed to see
Yeah,
how
it's
I
it's still
feel.
it's still not there, and we're seeing like pieces of it. We don't have a look at the full thing in all its glory. Really, it's
Oh
kind
yeah,
of cut off by
we're only seeing
fencing
like
and stuff.
half.
Yeah,
Not even.
so I'll hold out judgment, but that Insidious house is a pretty high bar to be fair.
That's true. That's very true.
All
Um,
right. What do we have next?
this is fun. I'm gonna take this. Because we're gonna talk about the HHN Hollywood virtual casting call that came out recently, and I'm just gonna get right into what it says because it kind of gives it all away, right? It's very direct on what it's referring to. This isn't a surprise. Basically, it says seeking skilled voice and puppeteer performers to portray the role of Chucky while operating a Chucky puppet. They did not try to hide it at all. They were not like,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
they're
were
just
not
out there
like,
like, hey, Chucky, hey, can you talk like this at all?
can you say where you're from? And-
Right.
Oh, Virginia. Ah.
I'm sorry. No, I heard you. I'm just sorry.
Oh, that's your boyfriend? Oh, you could do better.
And before we get too far into it, to it sort of give context, I don't know if it gives context, just insider legacy does think that this could possibly be for the Peacock Bar. Whether or not it is, it could be for the Peacock Bar,
Ooh.
it could be for something else, but right now that's what he's thinking that this is for.
I like one thing about that a lot. Take out who it is and anything, but operationally, if it's like that, obviously he'll have to be stationed in one spot. One thing I didn't like about the way it worked last year is that David as Pumpkins interacted with like the line itself. He'd walk around the area, and it really slowed down the Peacock Bar line a lot sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if it's off to the side in a different location than the bar itself, it'll help the flow so much.
Did the casting call say anything about like a licensed bartender? Because Chucky could also be like pouring the drinks.
Oh my god.
What can I get you?
That would be amazing. That would be like my favorite drink if Chucky poured me a drink and be like, all right, this is my favorite. What if he poured you like that terrible green,
Oh, the
like
green apple and what was it? Whatever, the thing that doesn't mix with green apple at all. You want some chili
Cookie butter.
habanero cookie butter, yeah. Chili habanero bitters with your green apple and peanut butter latte.
oh, disgusting, nasty. Ugh. But this is exciting, and I did some research because I'm like, I remember they Hollywood had Chucky a long time ago, Puppet Chucky, and it did not end well at all. That did not work well. They had the Chucky
Oh,
Insult
yes.
Emporium,
Yes, they did.
and yeah, we don't need to get too much into it, but there was a reason that stopped, and a very good reason it stopped and didn't continue. But I looked up, and actually Chucky did reappear as a puppet in 2019 for like the 80s
Mhm.
nights that they had. So Chucky has come back as a puppet since then, so I'm sure they would use either that one or a similar one and sort of do like a similar type thing that they did for that, just
Yeah,
like in
yeah.
the context of a bar, if that's what's happening.
I'm sure it'll work the same way. The 2019 version was a very toned down version, more akin to the HHN 28 Scare Zone version of Chucky, the one we were just joking about 2 minutes ago. Um, I expect that's what's going to happen. He's going to kind of rib people a little bit, but it's going to be very not overboard,
Yeah.
and probably, to be fair, a little too safe even. So yeah, I don't know if I'm actually excited for that at all. Because it hasn't been funny, and before that it wasn't funny for different reasons. So
I'm just excited to see Chucky again at Hollywood specifically. And if he comes to Orlando, if it's like a Peacock Bar in Orlando, I could go to Chucky and be like, "Hey, what happened? What happened? What happened last year? What happened with your house? I want to know the details of how the house ended up the way it was." That's what everyone's gonna
oh,
be asking him, and he's gonna be like, "I can't answer that question."
it's like, oh, have you seen my new show?
It's on Sci-Fi.
Is he gonna be able to just only say like 6 things like they do in this fucking
Preguntas.
Hey, hey, yo.
Hey yo.
All right, let's move on. um, I was gonna say we have a segment that we love, but we don't. It's not Murdy tweets. It's Murdy tweet because we just have one. So no
Yeah,
Jess,
Jess isn't here to do the
no Jess. It's not multiple. So we're just gonna roll with them. We're gonna talk about a Murdy tweet here.
Murdy
Uh,
tweet. Murdy tweet.
I like it. Dull it down. That's perfect.
Just one. Murdy tweet.
When directly asked about it, he basically said there will be more than one house that will have actors in front of the facades, which is always kind of a nice, fun feature that Hollywood incorporates. So, always like to see it. It's nice to know that it will be at least in a couple of them, maybe a few even, hopefully.
It's one of the coolest parts about some Hollywood houses because I do think having someone in front of the facade acting and doing stuff, or two people even, is really, really, really cool. And it's something we just don't get in Orlando anymore, just the way our
Mm,
houses are laid out. Like, it's weird example because I didn't love the Last of Us house over there, but I will say that facade with Joel and Ellie interacting was one of the coolest things of that year. I thought that facade was gorgeous, and them interacting really set the tone for like the house and getting you into the world of the Last of Us. I thought that was a really, really cool addition.
yeah, and I think there's really no property or house it can't work for. So it'll be fun to see which ones they choose.
Yeah, didn't
Absolutely.
Monstros also have like the storyteller
La
guy?
Muerte, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And even Holidays in Hell had the two people for, what was it, New Year's Eve? They had them
Yeah.
hanging out.
Right. You're right.
The cool
Yeah.
thing.
So I'm excited to see that again.
Let's throw
Absolutely.
Leatherface out there just real quick.
Yes, please.
Just start out with a bang.
I want to take a picture with him. We'll be outside like, "No, I don't want to go in the house yet. I want to take a picture." It's like, "No, you have to keep going." Um but the last piece of news for Universal Studios Hollywood in particular is kind of random. It's like, "Oh, that's cool." It kind of sort of feels delayed a little bit. But they just recently got our Where Horror Lives design preview merch, which is the shirt, the hat, and the tumbler. They're selling it now in the park. They didn't before. It's hard for us to like remember that, but they did not sell the Where Horror Lives merch over at Hollywood. They're just doing that now. And something also pretty interesting is the orange version is not available there. It's just the black version.
Interesting.
So
Mm.
I have to assume that we're never going to see that orange version again.
Oh, well, there's still plenty in the store, so
Yeah.
you'll see it a lot.
They probably didn't order any extra. They're just
No.
All
But yeah,
right.
there you go, Hollywood.
it is time. Let's go over to our home, Universal Studios Florida, where I love this. This is phenomenal. First of all, the summer tribute store is great. But the addition they have made, which is the Bill and Ted phone booth, is now in front of the tribute store. If you didn't notice before, that throughout the tribute store there were a few uh, Bill and Ted references already, but this is obviously the biggest of those. It has recreation of the phone book itself in the phone booth, just a bunch of other little Easter eggs, even relating to other properties in it as well. Um, but of course, this has led Twitter to say, why is this here? It is not a universal property. And then there were also people related to the Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure in some way who kind of lit a fire by some of their comments. So now, of course, there's a lot of people saying, well, Bill and Ted must be returning to HHN, right? Well, what do you guys think?
I would love it, but I just don't believe it. I think this is just kind of an iconic photo op. You're right, it's not a Universal property, but it does have ties to Universal, and this is kind of a Universal throwback, like a summer tribute store. I think they probably negotiated kind of to have this here, and I think it's just an Instagram spot.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I don't think Bill and Ted is coming back, and I don't think we would have heard the tongue in cheek comments if it was coming back.
No,
I don't think they would have been allowed to say it that openly and teased it in the way they did.
no.
So, and it also just kind of doesn't add up. I know it's strange that they have Bill and Ted, um, but it's a notable property that's been related to the park. Guess we'll like it. Why not?
It is interesting because you're right. You have to go to the property holders and be like, or the rights holders and be like, can we do this? Like, this isn't something Universal can just do on their own and put it up because then they would get in trouble for that. Like, this is too blatant to just be like, oh, we can just put it there for funsies. It's not like a little poster that no one's really gonna notice. It's a giant phone booth that's straight from Bill and Ted. So they had to get the permission. They had to get permission. But I also was looking on like Instagram and stuff, and it looks like Bill and Ted was really pushing the Bill and Ted Day like a lot on their social media. And I even read something like we're gonna have celebrations in Florida and California for this, and I'm like, and I was reading through that, I'm like, maybe they just had like a deal with Universal, like, hey, put this in the park. It promotes our property. It only helps us, for
Mm,
for Bill and Ted Day, and you can put it there, and there's some photo ops, and that's what it's for. And to be honest, that's probably what it is. It's probably just like fun marketing for Bill and Ted Day, and they can keep it for the summer, and there it is. I wouldn't be shocked if it's like Bill and Ted goes to Peacock too, because that would make sense, I think. If it's like, oh, it's also coming to Peacock, so that's why it's in the park. Watch it. I mean, they just did a similar thing in Disney World and Disneyland with the Doctor Who TARDIS. They put it there to promote the show that's on Disney Plus now. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a similar thing.
mm.
So I think it is something. They had to go to the rights holders. I think it could be Peacock. It could be like a Universal thing tying with the six, or Bill and Ted something. But you're right. I want it to be related to Bill and Ted. There were the Harold and Kumar rumors, which, you know, are kind of like Bill and Ted, and now there's a Bill and Ted phone booth, and it gets you thinking, but it probably isn't. It's probably just some fun marketing thing where both of the parties involved said, "Hey, this benefits both of us, so let's work together to have it." And that's probably what it is.
I'll still hold out hope one day we get our heroes back, but don't think it's this year, unfortunately.
Do you
Um,
think if Face the Music was a hit, there was a chance?
no,
No.
no. I think the bigger issue with that show is how much they deal in other properties, and whether it's legal or not, other companies can still not like that, the use of their properties, right?
Gotcha.
And the way they're used. So I think out of all the rumors of why that's gone, specifically in Orlando, I think that's a pretty strong one. And it
You
seems
just
like
don't
it
want to
might be
ruffle
the actual.
feathers
Yeah, it's like,
anymore.
yeah, sure. Like, we can't actually sue you because it's all parody, but we can choose not to work with you because of what you're doing to our property in this show, you know?
Right.
So they'd have to change it up quite a bit if they brought it back, I think. And I don't know if that would be worth getting them back at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like at the peak of Bill and Ted, they were quite antagonistic to especially Disney, and
Hmm.
I think probably Universal and Disney are they're in they seem like in a much less antagonistic space of like trying to like stay out of each other's lanes kind of. And they probably don't want to get back to that, really antagonistic time.
Hmm.
Um and so I think they're just trying not to, ruffle feathers again.
Well, we can move on to something else that's happening in the park. Not HHN related really at all, but Cinesational, the new Lagoon show, has debuted. Actually, tonight is the official opening night. I went to check it out, and I'm just going to keep it non spoiler, not a full review, just kind of the HHN related parts. It's not beat for beat, but you can definitely tell it has a Marathon of Mayhem esque, and I'm talking like 2019's Marathon of Mayhem
Mm.
esque like format and layout and how it builds and in crescendos, and it shares a lot of similarities stylistically for sure. Um, but it looks beautiful. The drones are a great addition. Um, Obviously, they use Ghostbusters, Universal Classic Monsters, which really bring in the Marathon of Mayhem vibes. It's a really good show. I think I actually still do prefer HHN 29's Marathon of Mayhem. But other than that, this is the second best Lagoon show that Universal has ever had.
Poor Ghoulish.
Sorry, Ghoulish. Ghoulish would be third, to be fair. Ghoulish third, the not so good Marathon of Mayhem, was it Fear Factory? Fourth,
Carnage Factory.
Carnage Factory, thank you. And then literally everything else just
Yeah.
down in the trash.
I don't
So
even remember the names of some of those they had.
yeah, there's no reason to.
But they had the big giant
Look,
balls.
Cinematic Spectacular, oh
Yeah.
the like globe ones, oh those were
Yeah.
terrible. I remember the Sweet 16 one was on those fucking globes.
Yeah.
Terrible. All right, let's move on to what we're here to talk about. That's HHN now in Orlando, of course.
Yeah, and let's get to one that is, yeah, I think it's still current right now. Premium screen night tickets, which if you guys didn't listen last episode, is a special one night event for a premium price where you can go to Halloween Horror Nights a day before it opens to the public and get in all the houses with low waits. It's going to be limited capacity, free food, free non-alcoholic beverages, lanyard. You get pulse in the houses. There's a lot of interesting things about that night. But the tickets are now on sale, and I'm pretty sure they still are on sale after like about a week or so of
Hmm.
being on sale, which is kind of interesting. How do we feel about that? That these tickets are still on sale, even though we know, or they've said that this is a limited capacity type thing, and they even like gave everyone a heads up, like, by the way, guys, the tickets are releasing this day, just letting you know in case they sell out. And they didn't, and they're still on sale. So why do we think this is happening?
I know it can lead you to believe that maybe that limited capacity isn't so low. I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be a pretty low capacity. I think the market for a ticket like this isn't that large. Um, this is going to cater a lot more to the people who probably are people who are getting frequent fears and that kind of stuff. So they already have plans to spend a ton of money to go to this event where not just a single night can replace that.
Yeah.
It'll have its people that'll want to go who do frequent fear as well. But I don't think, even if it's 10 to 15,000 people in the park, which pretty small capacity for HHN. It's a lot of people, but you can make that work pretty well for an event like that. Um, I I don't know that there's that many people out there looking for an event like this. While I do think the value is there, I don't think most of the general public sees this as in going, yeah, this is my replacement for HHN the one night I do. Um, like, how many people do we think do RIP tours a night? Like less than 1,000, right? For sure.
I'd assume so.
Like
Yeah.
a few hundred max. So I just don't think the market for an event of this size at that price point for what's offered is fully there. Even though I've said it before, I do think this is a great value per dollar.
I
Now,
think the problem with this is that it caters towards the super fan, and the super fan is going to get the like it's priced to basically for the super fan, and the super fan is going to get frequent fear,
Hmm.
and literally the next night they'll have admission in their frequent fear.
Exactly.
I think most super fans are probably hesitant to. They probably, if the price was right, they would do it, but they're probably just not ready to bite the bullet on this.
So this is more for like super fans who only get to go once or twice a year, which is a much smaller pool
It
to
is,
to
and
sell tickets to.
how many of them are going to have their trip planned right here,
Hmm.
like, and how many of them are willing to give up opening night and do this instead? Because
Hmm.
openings night is still an atmosphere that you can't really, there's something to be said about being there on actual opening night. I don't know how many people would be will if they only have one night and they were planning to doing opening night and then they hear this. Are they just going to change it up? I don't know. I don't. You know.
yeah, the timing of it. We understand why it is what it is. Because I mean, the you can't do it any other night. There's team member previews, and they have to be ready enough to feel that they can show the event to paying guests. So that's why it's got to be the night before opening. I understand, but it's unfortunate timing because you're right. Like, especially because it is catered towards a lot of the super fans and stuff like that.
I
Everyone can
think
just wait a night.
I think if they had tried to like, and maybe this is the workshop of this, if they like maybe every other week during the event on a Tuesday, they offered this and said, "Hey, those who are thinking about doing RIP, here's another option, and you're gonna have lower capacity, and you're gonna, you know, I think potentially those that would be catering towards the people who have their trips planned,
Hmm.
and they might actually bite on this because you're gonna give them free food and you give them, maybe you change it up and you give them alcohol tickets and you make this an exclusive event. But the problem is it's only once, and it's literally the night before opening night, and how many people are going to give up opening night to go to this instead?
Clearly, not a lot is what I think what we're seeing here.
I
Obviously,
mean,
we don't know how many they've sold, um, but it's not sold out.
I
And
think
that's not
I
shocking.
think they anticipated this to be for the social media community.
Which
I
I'm
think
sure there's still a lot of money was spent from that community for sure. But again, that's not the biggest of pools.
Now I have two questions for you guys. One, do you think this event is actually gonna reach like there's gonna be enough tickets where it's gonna reach the amount that they want for this? They have I'm sure they have a projected goal of how many people they want to go to this event for it to be profitable, for it to work for them to continue these. Do you think it's gonna reach that number? And also, do you think we keep going farther and farther and the tickets are still on sale and sale? Do you think there's a point where like Taste of Terror, they knock the price down a couple of dollars, maybe by like $50 or so to see who else bites and then just refunds everyone else like the amount that they paid but like minus the discount and stuff like that. Like they did with Taste of Terror.
I think there's a small chance they might. They probably won't. there is a precedence for it, and I do think there probably is a subset of people who are holding, because there is a precedent for it, because it happened last year. There are people who are kind of on the fence that are probably holding out for that, in order to buy this.
Yeah, and I mean, we were asked on the live that if this went down, would we look to do it? And I think all of us had a price point where we were like, yeah, at that price point, I'd probably try it out. At that price
Mhm.
point, I think it's worth it for my situation, which was, I think we said like bring it down to like 250, and that's much more reasonable uh, when you have to pair it with what we already spend on the event.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I understand why they don't. It's That's our situation because we already spend $700 on our frequent fear plus with expresses. Not everyone's doing that, of course.
And
Uh,
it's just the night before. It's
it's
just
just
the night
yeah.
night.
To get I thing is, I wouldn't even care about the like. I get to see it a night early. For me, it would be getting every house pulse through. The free food I would take advantage of, stuff like that. Like I don't even care about
Yeah.
the extra night. Um, to
If
answer,
this was cheaper and it was like during the event where okay, I've seen the product. I really want to get pulsed through some of these. Um, and it was like, like October, like one of the busiest weeks, like right before Halloween, they're going to offer this premium event that it's going to be slow, and it's one of my last chances to really do these houses. I would
Mhm.
probably bite in in that instance. The fact that it's right before the event starts, I'm less enticed to do it.
Oh, you would if you were like, hey, the very last night of this event is going to be this specially ticketed event. You'd have me hook, line, and sinker. I'd be stuck. I'd have to do it
Yeah. Oh, if they did this like the
on
last one,
November 4th.
yeah, yeah. If they did extended this and said, "Hey, this is the last time you can
Yeah,
do these," you would get so many more people.
people would be pissed off, but you'd get so many more people.
Mhm.
And to answer your first question, Jonathan, I would assume what they want and expect is a sellout. It's tough to say if they do get that because again, we don't know the exact numbers of what the capacity is and what they've already sold. I'm not
Right.
going to try to answer that. I am not surprised if they don't sell out, though. Not surprised at all.
Makes
So
sense.
I, I guess I'll pick one side. I don't think it will. There we go. So no, I don't think they're going to get exactly what they want out of this. I think they'll make money probably, but not the money they wanted to make it worth it necessarily.
I agree with that too. Especially now cuz it looked from our side, like I said, it really looked like they were expecting this to go crazy the first day the tickets went on sale. Like almost sell out there with the warning and everything. You don't give a warning, for that type of stuff, unless you're like expecting, a lot of people to want to grab something and grab it. But I don't know, well, we'll have to see later in the year to see if it eventually sells out or not.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the really fun stuff that part of it we did not expect this week, but construction updates. Starting with the things that we have seen and we can see thanks to BioReconstruct being the main source there for us. Sprung Tent 1's facade is currently under construction. Uh, as a structure, it is now fully popped up. This is the house that is rumored to be Museum Deadly Exhibit on the spec map. Um, it's kind of just this all black structure currently. I don't think that's the color it will stay. That's just its current state. And I don't think it's actually what it is, but everyone who looks at it basically goes, this kind of looks like some sort of building that has like a chimney, like factory esque, even.
Mhm.
Um, so whether people think that it is a factory or not, and it seems there has already been some changes to this a bit, um, that's what it currently kind of looks like in its build. I do think that changes a bit, probably, but that's what it looks like now.
Yeah, I it's hard right now cuz like you said, it's so early. Like the structure literally just popped up and I have a feeling the structure is continue or is going to change as the time goes on, and we'll have some better ideas. I do know everyone who looks at this immediately, I've seen everyone's like immediate reaction looking at this is everyone goes, "That does not look like a museum." Like that is the first thought that comes to your head. Like because it, if you think of traditional museums, it doesn't look like a museum right now at all. Like you said, the way the building is structured and the chimney and the sort of looks factory esque. Like it does not look like a museum. Now we know that this museum in particular, from the description, is a folklore museum, and it could, I mean, it could not be like a super popular museum. It could not be like a, a destination for people. It could be just like a local folklore, local folklore museum that is just sort of in a town somewhere. And it's in, it doesn't have to be some grand facade of a museum. It could just be like a little, little local museum. So that's what it could be too. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah.
will I will say first look, it does, you don't think museum looking at that.
Yeah, what I see here is kind of like a roadside attraction museum, kind of like with like gaudy dinosaurs and like that type of stuff where like Ruby Falls type of exhibit type where like like billboards. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting.
That would make sense. I can absolutely see that.
Yeah, they'll definitely require less change than from where we're at too, or less additions. So
Yeah, if it's like you alluded to, Duff, it does kind of sort of look like a factory right now. Though it's not as big as a factory should be, it's not as wide as a factory should be. Though that all can change as construction continues. So yeah, it's a lot easier to move from where we are now to a local, you know, roadside, folklore museum compared to a big giant, candy factory for like major sweets or something. So yeah, I agree with that. I kind of personally, just based on hype and I don't know, just something in my gut. I kind of want this to be Major Sweets because I'm just imagining like Major Sweets in a sprung tent, kind of going crazy. Like imagine having that combo
Yeah.
of Major Sweets and Slaughter Cinema 2 right next to each other. I think, I don't know. I'd like, to me that sounds like one of the best sprung years ever, just in my head. Obviously, we have no idea what these houses are going to be, but I mean, I like the sound of that in my head, and I want to think of anything like, I just don't want to. I know Fast and Furious is still a new location and it can change, and it's even changing layouts this year and everything like that. I just, part of me really wants to find any reason to believe that Major Sweets is not in there and it's somewhere else. So maybe that's why I'm thinking like, oh, maybe this is Major Sweets because it kind of looks like a factory, kind of, except it's not, wide enough or big enough or anything like that. Um, but yeah, I will say it's probably more likely right now that it's museum until we see some further updates.
mhm. And now the construction update that was unexpected, about a month earlier than it was last year. So maybe ever, if that's the case. To be honest, we have lighting rigs and trusses going up in both Central Park and San Francisco. And yes, they are for HHN. They are not for any of the summer stuff. Trust us. We promise. We will not lead you astray like that. People say every year, even in July, like, oh, there's no way it's for HHN. It always is. They're always the same. It's okay. Just accept it. Believe it. Please, please. But yeah, so Central Park, they have a good 8 of them lining Central Park, I believe. And then there's another 3 kind of on the ends of San Francisco as well. And honestly, this is one of my favorite parts of the year because once you see these, you start to see so much. Things really ramp up immediately. So this is kind of like where it's like, oh, it's happening. Here we go.
It feels
Yeah,
early too.
It
Like
is. It's about a month earlier than last year.
it's kind
And
of crazy.
I've seen, yeah, well, the event's starting earlier. It's starting like 2 days earlier. It's really, but this is like a month earlier for this truss work and lighting rig work. So, um, yeah, it is definitely early. Maybe that means we're gonna have a lot going on for the scare zones. I don't know. I won't necessarily believe that yet, but it's nice to see, regardless.
It's like
Yeah.
you said, it's the mark of the beginning of like visible HHN construction season in the streets. And some people are like, "Oh, lighting rigs, who cares about those? That's silly." But it's the start of everything. We're about to see things. So I don't know if "about" is the right word, but we're about to
Yeah,
see things starting to get put up in the park, and that is, I mean, that means when we see that happen, HHN is super close now.
I do think because this is so early, there's a chance that it takes away kind of that whole this the start of everything, and
That's
maybe
true.
it's just going to be lighting rigs and stuff for a while. Because typically when they pop up, it's like that means within a few weeks you're just randomly going to see a whole ass prop put out or something. You're like, oh
Mhm.
shit. You wake up that morning and then it's like, wow, there's a stage in New York. Look at
just
that.
just popped up out of nowhere.
So I think that probably will still be like late July or so. We're going to see stuff like that. I don't know if they're going to put that out in late June or early July, but you never know. You never know.
So do we want to move on to the new? Oh my goodness, we have so much stuff. The new HHN merch that popped up today as we're recording this, so Friday, June 14th.
How random was this drop?
I
Like
was literally at work and it was like 12, and I look at my phone and then I look at like it's like 9 a.m. It's like, oh, HHN merch drop. I'm like, what are you talking about? What?
this will be, or this already is the third preview merch drop that has nothing to do with an announcement. Just preview merch with HHN shit on it.
Yeah, did they just trying
Absolutely
to get an
wild.
earlier start on this? Like, or they're like, "Hey, it's ready," and like this is like normally they would save this for the event, but they're like, "Eh, it's in the back. Let's just pull out a box and throw it up."
Maybe. But to break down what it is, it's a T-shirt with kind of a. It almost keeps like the atomic goth style in a way, but it gets much more. How would you put it?
More like a
Almost
cartoon. Like,
cartoony. Yeah,
yeah.
Cartoony, like
cartoony.
psychedelic, maybe a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. But it features Little Boo. It has Major Sweet's hat. It has skulls, spiders, a different pumpkin that's not Little Boo. There's blood popping out everywhere, but like cartoony blood.
Yeah,
Uh,
drippy. It's very
yeah,
drippy.
yeah. And this is not just on a shirt. It's also on an ornament, a coaster, and a mug as well. The ornament and coaster are just kind of the like minimized versions that focus pretty much on just Little Boo and not the full design. But man, this shit looks great on the mug. I'll tell you that.
I really like this design. I think it's aesthetically just kind of similar to like stuff that I like. It's very punk. It's very bright. It's very kind of psychedelic. Um, I like it. It's not exactly what I would buy, but it definitely looks like looks like a no effects type shirt. You know what I mean? Like it
Hmm.
has that those vibes, those early '90s
Yeah,
punk band vibes that I really like.
and I've seen a lot of people say like early 2010s, late 2000s, like pop punk style, where they kind of went back
Yeah,
towards that
go
kind of
back to that.
aesthetic as
Yeah,
well. Yeah. Like I think
the
it's
Warped Tour.
probably yeah, exactly. I think it's probably like the actual best design they've done. Um, it's not an automatic buy for me. One, I just don't know if I need another piece of merch with a little boo on it at this point. Um, I say that as we made a little boo joke on Twitter today. Um, but yeah, I just don't need more merch. I understand why they do it. He's gonna sell, and a lot of it just feels like just stuff tossed on a shirt, and it looks really good. I just don't need the shirt in my closet.
I
Again,
like it. I'll probably buy it. I don't like little that little Boo is on here twice.
yeah, because
I
yeah,
would take maybe the little like the Easter egg little Boo on the hat, and maybe not the big little Boo. Put something else
that'd be
there.
much better.
Maybe put the skull that they've been, the Mohawk skull guy. Throw him in there. Make him the subject. Um, but you know, it is what it is. I think Little Boo sells. I get
Hmm.
why they did it.
Now, I would buy the mug. However, it's $40, which is fair for a nice like heavy duty one. This doesn't feel like that heavy duty quality. It's a very like light metal. Um, the quality of the print almost it almost feels like it has this nice texture on the spider webs. That's really cool. But the full graphic just kind of feels like a sticker almost. Um, so I don't know if the quality of the mug is there for me to purchase it at $40, but it looks great.
Yeah, it doesn't look very dishwasher safe.
No, it's no, absolutely not.
I would ruin this at 2 seconds. Just totally forgetting that I need to hand wash this and just tossing it in. Like I do with every piece of HHN glassware that I have ever bought.
Yes, I will always hand wash this. Oops.
Yeah.
I will say, I really do like this design in terms of the style. The colors are bright. Just looking at it from like social media, the pictures from there. I haven't seen it in person, but the colors look bright. I love the cartoony style. And I think if they release this type of shirt, that little boo, and have every reference related to the event itself, like the Major Sweets hat in there was like, that's so cool. Imagine if every other item in there was like from an original house or from
Mhm.
something related to the event. I think if that happened, then I would probably get it without Little Boo on it too. Like I think that would be cool, and I'd grab that in a second. Right now, with the choices they have on the shirt in terms of like what they chose to put on it, not yet. But I like where we're going with this, and if we can have some merch that's in this style using things from the actual event, I am gonna be spending a lot of my money this year on merch.
Now, that's not all that dropped, because the Atomic Goth Punk Skull has returned. And this time, it's going to be the design from that second shirt. Um, and it's just that. That's like a plastic display on a stand. That's all. It's like a little display piece. It
Okay. I
Yeah,
actually.
don't know if I've seen a picture of this yet.
Oh, really? Yeah, it looks really cool. It's literally just the same design that's on the shirt, basically. Um, I don't know that I have a need for a display piece like that, but I do think it's a cool piece to have in general.
yeah, I could see them just having like a this. I honestly would like them to have like display pieces with just like other merch and stuff, like for things that are more like I don't know. It's like if there's a cool design on a shirt or something that maybe not particularly this, but one that I really relate to, and they had a little stand here, and I could just put that like in my bedroom or something, just put it up like that'd be fun. I'd get one of those. I wouldn't get
Mhm.
this particular design, but if it was something that I liked more, I'd definitely get little stand like this. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I think if you put the right design on it, I'm buying something like that for sure.
But
All
are
right,
we ready to get to the hotel news?
let's do it.
Which is kind
Let's
of
do it.
wild because it's June. But HHN, or yeah, gave some info on their special features for hotels, Universal hotels during the HHN season. They gave a little press release and gave some info on all that. So let's just get over the super basic thing out of the way. But for those of you who maybe not might not know, this could be useful information for you. Basically, if you are in a Universal hotel during Halloween Horror Nights, you get a special hotel HHN entry in the park. They get you into like a special gate. Last year I think it dumped you out into Blood Moon. I think that's where it dumped you out. And you can get in there from 6:30 to 7:30, and it's almost like a little hotel special stay and scream area, if you will. And that's something they have almost every year. That's not particularly new, just something they wanted to reiterate. And for you guys who might not know, but here's the new stuff. During the HHN season, guests can drink in Halloween themed lounges at Cabana Bay, which, is normal, but then they also said Aventura and Universal's Endless Summer Resort Dockside Inn and Suites. All these lounges will have specialty alcoholic beverages and treats and photo ops and stuff like that. And we even got concept art of the Aventura lobby where it looks very themed. Obviously, this is concept art, but it looks very themed. Lots of props, very alien themed and stuff like that. And yeah, how do we feel about this?
Yeah, it looks like they're really trying to get some of these other non-deluxe resorts, the kind of the HHN bump that Cabana Bay has seen recently, where people who are here for HHN will either stay at one of the really close walkable hotels or they'll stay at Cabana Bay. It looks like they're trying to spread in them out to Aventura and Dockside and some of the others as well.
Yeah, it's if you would have asked me, I would have thought that this would have taken a step back. But I'm really pleased to see that they're not just saying, "Ah, it didn't work, let's stop." They're saying it didn't work. What can we do to make it a draw? We want this to work. And this concept that we see looks really good. It looks like a huge step above what they've been doing. So I'm excited to check it out this year, actually, if this is the quality that we're going to get in the resorts.
Absolutely. I was very disappointed about Cabana Bay's little lounge last year, how they themed it to HHN, because I didn't think it was really anything special. It was kind of just reused props from like Wicked Growth and had a little boo, and it was just sort of the same thing they had the year prior. Um, so I'm very happy to see that they're seemingly going, moving forward, making it better for not just Cabana Bay, but all these hotels. I think that's a huge step forward, and I'm very happy to see it. Um,
Definitely.
and the last thing is that not only, Cabana Bay, the ones that we just listed, but they said each Universal Resort lobby will have Halloween decor and photo opportunities. So that's also pretty exciting. It's not just the ones listed. I'm pretty sure it just means every Universal Resort lobby will have some decor and photos, and I think that's cool.
Yep.
Yep. Well, I think it's time we get to the main segment finally. Of course,
Yeah,
the
it took us a
announcement.
while.
Right, I know. The announcement of A Quiet Place coming to both Orlando and Hollywood as a house this year. This is something that has long been rumored, so it's no surprise that this has been announced. And to be fair, they don't give us too much additional detail, but let me read through what they do say. Silence your screams if you want to survive the terrifying post apocalyptic world. Like the Abbott family, you must keep quiet as you travel from the farmhouse to the woods to the foundry. As soon as you make a sound, monstrous creatures who can hear the slightest noise will hunt you down and silence you for good. And another blurb. Mirroring the silence in the films, the haunted houses will embrace unique sound design, special effects, and the adept performances of the scare actors to convey the ominous sense of dread depicted in the films. Consequential to the storyline, Halloween Horror Nights will incorporate the use of American Sign Language for the first time ever within A Quiet Place haunted houses to capture the authenticity of the films. So that first piece is directly from Universal. That second piece is from an article, which, as usual, came before the announcement from Deadline, I believe. Right? It's Deadline.
That was Deadline, yeah.
Deadline, yeah. Which had a bit more info than the actual announcement did. And I think that's a really cool piece. I think that's a great way for them to have inclusivity and something that I didn't know if they would fully commit to. So seeing that they are is really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine A Quiet Place house without American Sign Language because, especially for the first film, which I don't think I wrote in descriptions here, but it's this house is based on one and two, the
Mhm.
Quiet Place, the first one and part two. But especially that first one, three most of the movie has sign language and they don't talk. Like they don't really talk at all in that first one. Only a couple of brief moments, and the rest of it's sign language. So seeing that we're gonna having scare actors in here that are gonna be using that, probably with triggers and stuff to portray the characters of the films. I mean, that's amazing. I really think that's an awesome thing that Horror Nights is doing. But how do we? I mean, before we get to talking about the script, descriptions, how we feel about the house, all that, the descriptions in the Deadline article, which that really knowing there was an announcement that day because everyone has sort of had an idea. I was sort of waiting for my phone, scrolling. I'm like, all right, when's it coming? When's it coming? The Deadline came first, so I was ready to tweet the Deadline, but then Horror Nights announced it, and then I had that was a weird whole situation. But let's talk about the announcement video we got in addition to everything else. Um, how did you guys feel about it?
I thought it was really well done, to be honest. Um, it's a very good like original take on what the film's contents are. It's very similar to like 2022's style of announcement video, and I think uh, takes it even a step further than most because it actually has an element of suspense and horror within the announcement video itself. Um, and not just, some of them just kind of ended with like, "Whew, that was scary," and then moved on. This one has like death that you see happen.
Yeah.
I think it's a really great piece of marketing, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's probably one of the best ads we've had in a long time. And I love how it ends with Otis. I think that's really cool. I
Mm.
think Otis is really growing on me. Yeah, I'm excited about this whole ad.
You know what's the most surprising? Like last year with let's for an example, because I think it's sort of similar in the way it's framed, the Last of Us sort of announcement. It has the shadow, it has the creature, you hear the sounds, it's sort of similar. But you never see the clicker. The clicker is just in shadow form. It feels like they don't want to, maybe spend the money on the clicker for that video, or that they don't have everything ready. This video for a Quiet Place completely shows the monster and like actually has really good CGI for like a HHN announcement video of the creature just snatching the character and killing them instantly. It was like movie quality CGI, which is kind of, I mean, really impressive for this type of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was really impressive all the way around.
Now we can move on to something that I'm not as impressed by: the key art for Quiet
That
Place.
transition, oh my god.
Yeah.
Whew, it is quite uninspired. It features what should be Emily Blunt, but does not have her actual likeness. So it's just kind of a face shrouded doing the shh pose. And then it's just kind of red lights and claw marks.
Yeah, I don't like this key art. Like it's not like it's not bad. I'm not gonna say it's terrible. It's not Triplets of Terror because that one I actually think is not good, and I think that one's bad. But this one just doesn't get me excited for the property at all. Which is kind of what key art is supposed to do. It is like you said, it's kind of bland. I understand why they can't have Emily Blunt on there. I'm sure there's likenesses rights involved.
Well, then acquired the likeness rights because that's what
Exact
they used to do plenty.
Either do
Hmm.
that or just have the monster or something. Like they could figure out a way if even if they couldn't do it, they could figure out a way around it without it just being random person. And because it's not Emily, it's a random person in there. I'm not calling that Emily Blunt, even though it's supposed to be. It's just a random girl. In the middle of your quiet place post, key art, which is just wild to me. I do like that it has some moments in the film. You can see the red lights in the cornfield. But I think you were saying, Mike, before, either through talking to us or just on the live, if you haven't watched A Quiet Place, a lot of those references that are like I guess the most interesting parts of the key art, you're not gonna understand what those mean. It's
Yeah.
not like there's a monster there, it's just like a cornfield and red lights.
Yeah, no, if you had not seen this property, I would have no clue what this house was about.
Oh, not at all. Not one bit.
Not even like a shadow of the monster or like a hint that something evil is lurking in the background. It's just nothing.
The only part you get is you're supposed to be quiet, but that's literally in the film's name. I think you could pick that up with without them going shh. So yeah, it
Uh,
if you are not familiar with this property, where's the excitement from on this key art? I guess that's why you have the announcement video.
they saw that key art like, oh, we really gotta put money into an announcement video. Uh,
Now, of course, this came with a preview merch release. In this case, we got a shirt and a heat reactive mug. The shirt is literally just the key art on the front. On the back, it says rule number one: Was it please or don't make a sound? Be
Yeah,
quiet, something like
yeah.
that.
I've
I think
already
yeah. I
Don't
think
make
forgot.
a
it's
sound.
don't make a
Yeah.
sound.
Don't make a sound. Um, it does have a nice Halloween Horror Nights 2024 sleeve tag with that like punk rock skull with the mohawk as the zero in
Yeah,
2024.
that is nice.
That looks cool. But yeah, key art was uninspired. The shirt is uninspired. The single rule on the back looks weird. That's a easy non-purchase for me.
I
Can
agree with
I? I'm gonna. We have breaking news actually. As we're
you. Oh.
talking, it's
Oh.
something completely unrelated to Quiet Place, but I just wanted to say it because I just saw it. Horror Nights Hollywood just made a post right now. Um,
What?
and yeah, I just found it. It's a radiation symbol with green light, like green gas appearing behind
Ooh.
it, and I think it has like a you just like an alarm sound playing in the background. Uh, what the heck? I'm sorry, this is not related to the Quiet Place at all, but
Sounds like
what?
one of the rumored originals.
Yeah.
It does.
Toxic Tunnel. Bring it back. It's happening.
This is
Toxic.
this
Yeah, we
is
got some
crazy.
breaking news. You're not gonna hear this like
Yeah.
for another day or two, but
Yeah, I'm. This is wild. Okay, sorry. That was breaking news. That was kind of shocking. I just that
do
felt
you want to
like I
take a
needed to say
second
that.
to tweet it?
It's okay. Compose yourself, Jonathan. You're good.
Okay.
All right, bringing us back to a quiet place after that excitement. Along with the shirt, as we mentioned, was a heat reactive mug, which, when it's cold or not hot, I guess, looks kind of cool. It's just kind of like this, like almost matte black Last of Us script, that Halloween Horror Nights logo that looked cool. And it kind of, you can, when it's heat reactive, you can kind of see behind it, but it just kind of looks like red is behind the black. It kind of looks cool. However, once you put coffee in it, it's just the fucking key art on a mug. And like a blocky poster on a white mug. Ugh. Ugh.
I would never
No.
want to put coffee in it. I.
No, only drink cold stuff out of this. Ugh.
It's unfortunate that the key art is so meh, and that every piece of merch we've gotten is just the key art. Like, if the key art was great, then this would be amazing. But it
No, it still wouldn't be. Again,
no.
the mug is white and they plastered the like poster style key art on it.
Well,
Terrible.
that yeah, that too.
Horrible.
Not a great idea. Cool. I mean, it's a cool concept of a heat, reactive mug, but yeah, not particularly this style.
Hmm. Now, I think before we give our thoughts, we should probably discuss some additional details we received from none other than John Murdy, with a special segment of Murdy tweets.
Are you gonna continue that with like a
Murdy
name?
tweets.
No, I was just gonna let you go with it.
Oh, okay. With a special
Jess isn't
segment of
here.
Murdy tweets.
And with a
Yeah.
special segment of Murdy tweets, we have Jonathan on site. Jonathan, what are you hearing?
Let's see what I got here. That was terrible. Anyways, let's. That was so bad. It's so late. So I have a couple of Murdy tweets here related directly to A Quiet Place, Hollywood's version of A Quiet Place, and I'm just gonna read them off. The first one is someone asked John Murdy, "Is the team that worked on La Lechuza and the Chucky puppets last year also working on this house?" John Murdy responded, "Yes, and other things." That's exciting. And the next one we have here is, "How will it work since the monsters are big?" Which is true. These monsters in A Quiet Place are huge. Will it mostly be puppetry like American Werewolf in London and Stranger Things 2? And John Murdy replied, "They are big. Oh, we have some ideas."
Thanks, John.
Very good insight. I think once we get further along, we'll have something very interesting to talk about regarding these monsters. But we'll continue for now. Uh, Another question was, "Looking forward to see what you and your team creates out of this. Watching the movies tomorrow to study up." Now, quick question: all of the actors within this house, are they going to be learning sign language, or only certain actors for certain scenes? John Murdy replies, I always try to stay as true to the film as possible, which sort of makes sense. I think it's just going to be sign language will be used in places where sign language was used in the movies. I mean, that makes sense. And the next one here, are you still going to use the same layout as Universal Hotel and Evil Dead Rising? Oh, because yeah, I don't think we mentioned this. John Murdy confirmed this is the UBE venue, for which is where The Walking Dead was, which is where Evil Dead Rise was, and Horror Hotel. That's where Quiet Place will be for Hollywood. But John Murdy basically said, "No, we've been secretly working on this space for a while now. Shh, don't tell anyone."
Boo.
I watched the live stream guys did. I think Jess straight up went like, "Secretly, what are you talking about? We all knew this."
Ube.
Ube. Next one is this is a very interesting question. Kind of a weird one, but will this house be quiet? And John Murdy replied, "Very different approach with audio." Once again,
Mm.
very insightful. Um,
I think that one leads a little. We'll talk about it after. Go ahead, keep reading.
Absolutely. There is, yeah. Next one is really excited to see how it comes to life. Stoked to see how American Sign Language will be incorporated into the walkthrough. And John Murdy responded, "This one is a huge challenge, but I like a challenge." I don't know why I read it like that, but that's how I read it.
I mean, that's how I imagine how he would say
um, this one's pretty interesting. With sound design, a key aspect. Are you guys looking for ways to additionally dampen and reduce bleed or of external audio for portion by portion of the house? And John Murdy responded, "All were part of our considerations. We actually did a mock-up before HHN ended last year." And
Mm-hmm.
The next one is, I mean, here we go, straight up. Is there gonna be some animatronic aliens in this house? John Murdy responds, good idea. I wonder if that means yes, absolutely.
Or, oh, wow, that would have been a great idea. What the
I
fuck?
I didn't think about that. Oh no. I just had actors wearing like the head of the monster popping out at you.
I'm
My
gonna.
animatronic guy didn't say anything about aliens. He just kept talking about Chucky.
Just trying to sell more Chuckies. I made some more in the bag. Oh my god.
You broke Jonathan.
I guess I did.
That's all the animatronic guy makes. It's just a bunch of Chuckies.
We need to make it John Murdy's animatronic guy T-shirt.
Oh my god. Okay. Um. Uh. This one's not related to A Quiet Place, so we'll skip this for now. This one. Hi, John. Very excited for this year. I have a question. Will all the members of the Abbott family be present, helping guests along, much like Joel and Ellie were in The Last of Us? And John Murdy said, I'm sure you'll see them. I'm still trying to gain composure, by the way. Um, the next one is the majority, no, this isn't a question. Someone just responded. The majority will be the first film with maybe one or two rooms dedicated to the second film. And John Murdy responded, seem pretty sure of that? Which I guess we'll talk about in a little bit too, because that's an interesting point. Someone said, no one said they're not having a facade in there. If Orlando can have a farmhouse facade in a soundstage, why can't we? And John Murdy responded, yeah, why can't we? It's not in the front, but it's in there. Which interesting, because this location has not had a facade for the past two houses. And I'm pretty sure that is it. Yeah, I think that's all of them. So now that we went over all of the Murdy tweets, what are some things you want to pick out from there to discuss?
Well, my favorite, that's a straight up confirmation, is we will see the house facade somewhere within the house. So I like seeing that confirmed.
Absolutely. I think that's really exciting.
I think it's an important scene. I mean, it could be multiple scenes, but I think it's an important setting to use, as many things, of course, in the first film happened there. So
Yeah.
another one, of course, the Abbott family confirmed. From the Deadline article, it kind of already seemed like they might be, but he fully confirmed it as well there. Um, so maybe kind of Last of Us esque in that sense. I wonder. I hope not that much, but maybe.
I'm okay with it like a little bit, especially in this context because I mean, to be honest, there's not much to the movie besides the characters and the monsters. There's really
Mhm.
like barely any monsters in the film. Like the first film in particular, a lot of it is, dealing with the characters and the monsters pop up like near the end and every once in a while. They're not really meant to be force that's throughout the entire thing until like the end conflict. So for this property, it does make sense why we probably, it would make sense why we see a lot of the humans because that's kind of what this house is, kind of what this property is. There's not even other antagonists besides the monsters. It's beside, and if we're not counting the second film, it's really just the monsters. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Oh, they're gonna just shush you in the face so many times.
Oh,
Give me a break.
that's gonna happen. It's gonna be the first scare. It's gonna be you walk in and it's like, oh, everyone's talking, and then the Jim from The Office looks at you and is like, shh, shut the fuck up. But
Uh, Another piece that stood out to me, the one that you kind of poo pooed his response a little bit, but I think it said a bit more. The one where they were talking about kind of the quiet sound design, and he brought up how, yeah, it was very different approach. Pair that with the one where they had tested for sound bleed last year. I definitely think there's going to be an attempt to kind of replicate quieter scenes. Obviously, you're not going to get 100% quiet, but if you can get it quieter than the rest of the house, I think that'll still play pretty well.
the location gives me hope because it has its own soundstage. It's not sharing anything with anywhere.
Hmm.
It's not in the Mummy queue. I remember when that was rumored. I'm like, there's no way that works. There's no way it works in the Mummy queue. So I have a lot of hope that they can pull off some of those hopefully quiet scenes in this particular location. I think they can do it. I have a lot of hope.
Hmm.
Another thing that I mean, I think is one of the funniest things. Something that that I started laughing at quite a bit is the very hintily, heavily hinting at animatronic monsters or animatronic aliens, which I'm not gonna lie is after seeing Chucky and La Lechuza and how good their animatronics were last year, if they can pull off an animatronic alien, that would, I mean, that would be really exciting. I would love to see that.
Hmm.
Do you think it's gonna be like a mixture? Like, do we think it's gonna be some animatronics, some puppets?
Yeah,
With
you can't go full animatronics. I think you need to bring down the cost with some puppets as well. And I think for more close-up scenes, puppets would be more effective, anyways. To be honest.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Animatronics would be good for like the farther away scenes when you want to make it
Yeah.
to look bigger than it is.
Hmm.
I like the mixture. I'm excited for that. It seems like when they have animatronics and then they're putting money into it, that's exciting.
How much do they have left from Chucky though? That animatronic budget must be pretty thin at this point.
They just tore down they did John Murdy tore up the Chucky animatronics and tried connecting the parts to like make a to make a quiet place monster. They just put them all together in the shape of one. That joke didn't land. But whatever. Anyways, what uh what else can we gather from here? I'm trying to think.
I don't
Hard
know.
time.
I feel
Not
like
gonna
I feel like a lot of it was just after that kind of Murdy being Murdy.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But
But
I mean,
we did get additional knowledge out of it. So, with that additional knowledge, how are we feeling about this house in general?
Um,
I'm I'm optimistic. I feel like I've been more optimistic about this one than you guys have from the beginning, and I'm still optimistic. I think there's a chance that we're gonna get something really unique that we haven't gotten before, and there's a chance that it lands flat and it's not that great either. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they're able to pull off here. I think the property has been asked for a lot. Is I feel like more recently, um, the community has kind of turned on the idea. But I remember back in the day, people would ask for this all the time, and
Oh,
we
I mean,
finally got it.
yeah, it's not like something new as a prospect for HHN. As much as a lot of us would go, well, no, it's something that's always been brought up since it's come out, basically. So, I I think there's a really good chance this does catch us off guard, and it's an absolute banger of a house. But I don't know if I fully expect that to be the case. I think this is a lot easier of a house to flop than to absolutely nail.
Yeah,
And it, it
I'm
does it does feel like one of those houses where like I don't know how much in between there is between great and
right.
I completely agree. I'm on the exact same page as you. I want it to work. I really want it to work. It seems like the team wants it to work. It seems like just going looking at Murdy tweets. Murdy wants it to work. I think everyone wants this to be a success. It seems like they're trying new techniques with sound design and puppets and animatronics in terms of Hollywood, and they have a lot of new ideas. And I always like when they take IPs that are sort of new and innovative, and they use them, and they use them for the event, and it works. And that's one of the coolest things. I love when they do that. This is just a property that if you I mean, when it first propped up in rumor season, I thought it was a joke. Like I thought it like I was like, there's no way a Quiet Place is coming because that doesn't make any sense. It because it's the whole movie is against what HHN is. HHN is not what that film is. Um So the fact that it's announced, it's real. I'm looking at the concept art. I saw the announcement trailer. It's coming to the event. Is just wild. And I agree that I really think there's only two ways this house can go. It can either be a complete success. It exceeds our expectation. It pulls off the sound really well. It pulls off the creatures, which that's probably my biggest concern about this house is how big those creatures are, how they're the only antagonist in the first film, and they're still the main antagonist of the second one. And you can't have actors in them; they have to be puppets. So that's another concern I have. But so it's either it works and it's great and it's one of the best IP houses and they did an amazing job, or they can't pull it off. The sound doesn't work. The idea doesn't work. The creatures are too expensive. You can't have too many of them. So a lot of it's relied on shadows or screens or something or effects or whatever. And it ends up just being boring and a flop, that type of stuff. So I want to be like you, Mike. I want to be optimistic and go towards the they're going to make it work side of things. But I think I've been burned a lot by houses that I really wanted to work that I thought were high concept and they didn't. So right now I'm leaning towards I'm not too optimistic about this, but I want to be proven wrong and I want it to be a success.
I think there's a very high chance that this is going to be very coast dependent on your experience. And we could see one coast have a phenomenal take and the other one completely miss the mark.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's very true.
I would not
So
be surprised.
that would be unfortunate, but I'll take one of two instead of 0 for 2.
I wonder if this is the Murdy just invests a bunch of money in animatronics and makes this work,
Yeah,
and this
maybe.
is the one that Hollywood knocks out of the park. And Orlando doesn't get quite right.
And that would almost be similar to Chucky beyond just that fact, but like kind of what the property is, like the excitement level and like, well, what are you gonna do? Kind of some similarities there. Obviously, Chucky, you don't really need to think super outside the box to make work, but yeah, I don't know. It does feel like that kind of situation again, where maybe one of the two will at least really find a home run for us.
That should have been the tagline for Chucky. Chucky outside the box.
You know what? That's not bad.
The trailer could have just been him like coming out of the Jack in the Box. Would have been perfect. Now, I do wonder, how do we feel about this being based on the two films, the Quiet Place, the first one, and the second one, instead of the prequel that's coming out?
To be honest, I would rather have had at the prequel at least involved. I think following the full timeline would have been a lot of fun, and you have reason for really big actiony scenes. So,
Right. Right. We get the full spectrum.
mhm. I think it can be tough to shove three houses, or I'm sorry, three films into one house because it's just a lot to really make work and feel cohesive. Um, but again, it's just following the same storyline, so I think that would have worked out pretty well.
I do understand their reasoning in terms of like part one and two are so connected.
Yeah.
Like they
Mhm.
are literally minutes apart from each other. And it's following the one family the whole time. So I do get why maybe they're like day one follows completely different people that are not
Yeah.
related to this family. And if
And
we
it's a
started
prequel, so you would have to start with them. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
it just doesn't really work. I agree.
Now there are scenes in the have you all seen the second one?
I
The
have,
part two?
yes,
I have.
yes.
It's been a while though.
There are scenes in part two where you do go to day one, where
Mhm.
you see what
Right.
happened on the first day. Do we think we're going to see any of that, or do we think we're just going straight into the meat of the first film?
Probably just
I would love to do it in chronological order of the timeline, but I honestly think we're just going to delve right into it.
That makes sense.
I think they're gonna stay pretty consistently in a chronological order from starting with the first film into the second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is probably the most likely way they take it.
So that leaves us with only three announcements left for Orlando, and it is mid
Yeah.
June. When this was announced, it was still early June. That's pretty early to get that much.
What a
Meanwhile,
crazy year.
in Hollywood, this is the only announcement.
Yeah.
That
Which
that
that's
insane
typical.
different. That's
That's typical.
typical, but it's crazy how different the two coasts have been so
Yeah,
far
they're
in
not
announcement
normally
season.
this well because normally we
Through
get these
IPs, yeah,
shared IPs. Yeah.
yeah. But that means we're probably going to get more soon. Like next time we talk to you guys, I wouldn't be surprised if we have at least an IP announcement, and maybe an original from the breaking news we got from Jonathan. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so yeah,
Didn't
very
I?
very
We thought
interesting
that was
times.
going to be the one that they saved for Midsummer Night's Scream, though. So
Yeah, yeah. We could be wrong.
it could be
It's
wrong. It
simple
might
as
be
that.
another Latin America. They might be saving the Latin America one.
It's true. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we're wrong.
Yeah.
We're wrong all the time. So it does add up.
Yeah. We're wrong
Checks
most of
out.
it's
the time. Yeah.
it's true.
All right. Is there anything else to add before we start wrapping up? It's been a
Y-
long show.
yeah. Shh.
If they actually do say shh, they die because they made a noise.
Yeah, no, I don't think they'll actually make the shh in the house. But I can't just do the finger over my mouth because it's a podcast. So I mean, I could, but it really wouldn't work.
Yeah,
It
we're gonna
would
You
get
guys
that
would
a
just
lot of
keep
that.
talking over my sh.
They're
absolutely.
like, why are they listening?
Guys, stop! Can't you tell I'm shushing quietly?
Well, definitely leave us a voicemail, but actually speak and let us know.
Oh,
Don't just do hand
someone's
gestures.
definitely gonna give us a 2-minute voicemail with no audio.
Just American Sign Language. But yeah, leave us a voicemail at 407-906-4134 and let us know what you think. You can also tweet us, but that works a little better if you didn't want to make a noise. If you have a quiet keyboard, you can Instagram us. You can threads us. Is that a thing?
Yeah, I would prefer not threads, probably, but you could. You technically could.
Yeah, it's there. It'll take a week or two for us to see it. Because is anyone actively checking our threads?
No,
No.
No.
I'm gonna be honest. I've given up on that.
Yeah,
I
so
really
probably
tried to
not
stay
that one.
consistent, and then I was like, I can't anymore. I don't like
Yeah.
this platform.
Yeah, so probably not that one. Maybe we'll just stop talking about. But yeah, it's all at HHN365 and TikTok, which we are active on at HHN365 Pod. Yeah, leave us a voicemail or let us know and let us know what you think. And we'll see you in the streets.